press on. That police officer just turned in there and then made a rapid U-turn. I don't know what the hell he's up to, but there's some police lights up here ahead of me. I don't know if I'll get there in time. Okay, that officer, as you can see, was definitely up to something because he sped out. Okay. Looks like I'm gonna get to this one. Huh. That car hasn't pulled over yet. We shall see. Of course, he's getting farther away from me. Alright, he pulled into the same place I was headed already, I think. I saw police lights flashing there while I was walking, but that was weird how that officer pulled into that parking lot ahead of me and then sat there and then flipped on his lights before pulling out. I don't know. So something's definitely going on up here because I'm certain that there was already police lights there before I got there. So we'll see. I'll be there soon. Yeah, press on. All right, I'm headed over to this stop right here behind Domino's on Scenic Drive in Georgetown. Of course, these gang members have basically claimed the entire parking lot, it looks like. Okay, there's an officer talking to that red, well, the passenger side. This looks like a private automobile to me. Got Georgetown PD. Oh, I think it's Officer Walters. Officer Walters.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm not bad. How are you, sir?
Good. Do you have a minute once you move?
Say again?
Do you have a minute once you move out of their way?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Let me clear this and then I'll come over.
All right. I know what he pulled him over for because I was ear hustling. That light that I had just passed was blinking red, and I guess they went through it. But I had gotten a good video with Officer Walters one time before, and I dropped the phone and lost the video. So if he will, I'm going to give him a chance to run through that again, but without me interjecting this time. This is kind of a lit parking lot, so that's good. Yeah, Officer Walters, I just keep running into you.
Yep.
That time that you...
That's going to be...
I'm pretty sure I know what this was about. This was about that red light blinking, right? They went through it or something?
Yeah, people are just basically just disregarding the red signal. We call Texas Department of Transportation and the city, but it's actually a tech stop light, and we're trying to get it back to normal operation as fast as we can. But I don't know if you remember, a lot of people are not remembering their basic
You're supposed to
driving
stop
rules.
at that.
You have to treat it like a stop sign.
Yeah.
In there. So we're not stopping. Even
what
though
did
we
they do?
could,
Just run
we're not
right through
stopping
it?
the ones that are kind of slowing down and then going. We're getting the ones that are basically just blatantly going through.
Oh, that's what they did?
Yeah.
Man,
And
running
that's
red lights is really dangerous
It's my
to do.
fifth stop in
Oh, really?
probably under 30, 45 minutes. So,
Oh yeah, well
and
then,
the other officers,
then
so
I
we're
might just camp out right here and watch a
This
couple
is
of them.
probably we're probably going to be here, or we'll be on the other side near Canes because we're either which way they're going.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm getting a few out of HEB, but most of the ones out of HEB, they actually will come to a stop because they know it's a major intersection.
All right, all right.
So,
yeah, no,
we'll
I'm
be
all
doing it.
for
We're
that.
giving a lot of verbal warnings. Normally, we don't give a lot of verbal warnings for red lights, but with the amount of people going through, we're basically just trying to show our presence and get everybody to stop and slow down.
Yeah, everybody should know that.
Yes, sir.
But I'm gonna. You were so nice to give me a good interview,
Yes, sir.
and I dropped my camera, and
Yes.
I lost the video because it didn't save.
Is that
you know?
the same phone, or is that a different
Yeah, it's the
one?
same phone.
Okay.
I've dropped it lots of times, but when you drop it and you're recording, apparently it doesn't save the video. And so this time, I was hoping I could give you a chance to run through your understanding of Turner versus Driver without me interjecting at all. Just go ahead and do a rundown
Sure.
of Turner versus Driver for me.
My knowledge of Turner versus Driver, it's the Federal Appellate Court, Fifth Circuit, which is in Louisiana, New Orleans, which happens to be where my mom used to work. So I keep track of those kind of things, cases and everything else. I try to do the best I can to stay up on all the cases. So Philip Turner, I actually know who he is. I've met him only once. Didn't have a really long conversation, but he was just videotaping. I kind of said hi. He said hi. But I understand the case. The court brought it to the appellate court for the only question was whether Lieutenant Driver had qualified immunity. And as we understand, some of the federal cases can sometimes have a more broad ruling than the only ruling that they're doing that day. And simple terms is they're saying, does Lieutenant Driver have qualified immunity? And they say yes. They can say that, but they can also add a couple of little caveats, or they can add little, sometimes known as bright line rules, but in this case, it's more subtle. So in this case, Philip Turner lost his case because the only case they had before them was whether there was qualified immunity. They found that it was not an immediate, apparent, inherent right that people knew automatically that they could videotape, because nobody, even though it's
Wait, videotape
said
who?
here and there and everywhere, like law enforcement in public and things like that. Though it's been said kind of here and there, the federal court said, hey, we don't have a bright line rule on this. So what we're going to do is we're not making a bright line rule, but what we are is we're going to say, hey, he has qualified immunity because maybe they didn't fully understand all this. But from now on, we're going to say it is a First Amendment right to videotape. However, we're not going to qualify what exactly that means. Meaning, if an officer says you need to stand back here, they're not going to say that that's right or wrong for now. They're saying we're leaving it in the discretion of law enforcement and safety and the filmers. But local courts could have some kind of precedence on it and say, listen, here's the policy or here's the precedence. They're usually going to steer towards safety. So if it's unreasonable, if I'm like, hey, while you're videotaping, if you could step over to the other side of the river over there or the wall. And of course, there's going to be a gray area. I mean, I could be like, I need you to go to the corner of the building right there. I don't think that'd be unreasonable. To the bush, I don't think that would be unreasonable. But who's to say, if I said the bush and you said, no, I'm going to stand at the corner, is that unreasonable? It's a hard question to answer.
Well, wait, okay, now I'm going to interject and ask some
and that's
questions.
the gray area that the court said we're not going to touch.
Now
so
I'm
much.
going to interject and ask
Sure.
some questions.
Sure.
Okay, so let's say we're in a parking lot just like this,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Now, clearly you haven't shut down the parking lot.
No.
Okay,
I
so
have
hold on.
Yeah.
The parking lot's not shut down.
No.
So if you allow somebody to drive right through there, then I can also walk right through there.
Not necessarily. So there's a difference. So if a car is just passing by, they're not stopping, they're not involved in this in any way, shape, or form, and they kind of go right by. Now, I might actually say, you know what, even though I haven't shut this down, I might bump my car out a little bit to keep cars from going through, to kind of make them go around the other way.
Sure.
Just because that would be safer. But it gets into a funny area because it's kind of like saying, well, I'm going to let this car kind of go out over this way, and I want you to stand kind of generally in that area. That might be okay. But there might be a slight difference because you're standing there, you actually could do more harm quickly. Now, whether you're going to do harm, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's more saying, hey, I just want to prevent the possibility of it.
Right.
So I could probably say, listen, I want you to kind of stand over here or film all you want, but there's kind of a little bit of a safety bubble. And fortunately and unfortunately, it's a hard thing. The court doesn't want to say it's a 20-foot bubble, it's a 100-foot bubble, it's a 2-foot bubble.
But you do have to have a reason.
I don't know if he said me. Hold on. Okay, I know who that is. I don't know, 22. Was that for me or 23? Okay, probably Dennis Hastings. Okay, sorry.
Okay, but let's say that you do ask somebody to step back or whatever, and you claim safety concerns at the time, and then let's say that they press it and you arrest them, right? Well, now when it gets time in court, you're going to have to say why you had a safety concern, right?
And it's going to be completely up to the judge.
Yeah, but I mean, you are going to have to actually have a reason, like why that individual or one person.
Safety can be a valid reason. I mean, it's one of those where we are on a criminal act, a law enforcement stop.
Sure, no, there's reasons.
I'm literally just standing here, like not a PR contact.
Oh, yeah, here. Like right now,
but
yeah.
Let's say I just went to the Domino's and I came out and you're videotaping. I'm probably not going to really tell you to go anywhere because I'm not on any kind of criminal action, nothing.
Right.
I'm literally just walking in public, you're walking in public, or stop. You could videotape. Now, if it's one of those things where I'm getting in my car and you're like kind of stepping towards my car or something like that, it would be like, look,
yeah.
It's not necessarily that you're blocking the door, but you're right on top of me. Anybody would be, if you were getting in your car and all of a sudden I was just kind of like this,
well,
you'd be like, hey,
I'm glad you brought that up.
A police officer, you'd be like, what are you doing? It's a little close, but
I'm glad you brought that up.
Because there's no law enforcement going on at that time,
right?
So it's going to have a little different rules.
But what you're talking about is kind of common courtesy, and I'm glad you brought that up because. I haven't had any issues really with you when I'm filming.
No,
but some
you
of
made the one complaint about the interstate.
I didn't make a complaint, not a formal complaint.
No, not a formal one.
No, I did talk to your lieutenant, and really all I asked him to do.
You actually were on the roadway.
No, I was never.
We checked the video. You were 100%. You were actually standing on pavement.
Well,
when I said go, you finally went to the grass.
Even if I was,
you were good.
Even if I was,
have you stand on the interstate?
No, your lieutenant understood that the improved shoulder is not the roadway.
Actually, it is. State law states the definition of the interstate or road or anything is any part that is there, including the paved part. So
actually,
an improved shoulder is considered part of the roadway.
I'm familiar with this. In the definition of improved shoulder is the area restricted from vehicular traffic. In the definition of the highway is the area that is restricted only to vehicular traffic.
Look up roadway.
Well, roadway, but there's no law that says you can't walk on the roadway.
Actually,
there's a code.
Some laws that go a crossing, etc. But inherent safety is it's a closed access federal interstate that says no pedestrian traffic, no scooters, no bicycles. It's only for motorcycles and full motor vehicles.
Well,
so
you can't do that, and I'll say why. I'll say why.
More of a DOT kind of like they're saying that this is it. Some states have gone further and made it a full, like, you can't be on it and therefore I could get you for the state law. Here they don't have that. So it's one of those where basically I can tell somebody for safety, you need to step out of the roadway. The roadway, according to that definition, it actually says roadway is that paved portion.
Yes, but
the side,
roadway, yes, but the code that talks about walking on, upon, or across a highway doesn't use the word roadway. Roadway has a different definition, but highway is what we're talking about here.
Under roadway, it states all. So
yes,
basically,
that's a highway, and the code talks about highways.
Certain type of ideology go wrong is that they start looking at things out of context, or they start looking.
No, I've studied this in depth.
Definition here, but over here they have a regular definition, and these two. So, for instance, we have a law that says you can't be in certain parks after dark. So sunset, right?
Time and manner,
It says
time and
sunset.
place. Yes. Okay.
So if sunset,
But it's
that
close
day-
to everybody.
If sunset is that day at 6:01 p.m.
Uh-huh.
and somebody there is there at 6:02 p.m., they're violating the law.
Mm-hmm.
Under a different law, it says you have to have your lights on 30 minutes after sunset. Actually, they say at sunset, and then it puts definition of sunset is 30 minutes after the sun has set,
Yeah.
and 30 minutes before the sun rises.
Right.
So they define nighttime, sunset, sunrise differently than this code over here. Two's law is saying almost the same thing, nighttime and nighttime, two different definitions of nighttime.
Yeah.
So when they say driver, federal only defines commercial driver. They leave it under the amendments to the states to define a regular driver, non-commercial, which would still be a driver of an automobile or a vehicle. But a lot of people get that confused where they take it out of context and they say, hey, I read this and the definition of this is this. It is in that section, but in this section it might be different.
Right.
Now, I'm not always 100% right on every little tiny thing. I would look it up again, but last time when I looked it up, the definition of roadway.
Yeah, but roadway is immaterial because the code that you're talking about talks about highways.
But it's one of those things.
I know.
where-
I've let you
Right,
talk.
and that's
Let
an
me
IH.
say something. Right, that's a highway, right? Not a
Interstate
roadway.
and highway,
Okay.
which is a roadway.
Yeah, okay. Regardless of whether it's a roadway too, okay, the code says no walking on, upon, or across a highway.
Right.
Okay, not a roadway. Now, so hold on. So the code talks about highways. Okay, now the definition of a highway, according to Texas Penal Code, some cities have their own rules too, but the highway code, according to Texas law, says no walking on, upon, or across a highway. Okay, but the improved shoulder is defined as something other than the highway.
It's a roadway. It's part of the roadway.
Well, again, you're talking about roadways,
No, like
but
I said,
roadway
if
is
there's a
never
reason
mentioned
somebody
in the
stops a
code.
car, they're fixing a tire, there's an emergency, I can understand it.
Yeah.
And we're not going to sit there and enforce anybody walking all the time, but we're definitely going to do a welfare check. We're going to try to get them off of the roadway because it's not.
More point about this, and this is why I know that it can't be done. Okay, for in certain circumstances.
Right.
Now, the press does not only exist at 70 miles an hour. Okay, see, we're talking about highways. Okay, now if you can drive there, okay, driving is a privilege.
Right.
Right, but pressing
Driving,
on.
you can't
Hold on.
necessarily walk.
Let me finish this, okay, and then it'll all come home, okay? Now, so driving is a privilege, but pressing on is a right. Assembling forth is a right.
Right, but there's no definition.
Let me finish.
Under state law of that.
Let me finish. There are many crimes on the side of the highway. There's litter, those are crimes, right? When you pull somebody over, I mean, not you, I'm not accusing you of committing a crime, but, you know, there's like 800 and something officers charged with rape in this country in the last 4 years. Okay, I just read this. Okay, and that's
I know you read it, but
it may not be true, but
I read the
charged
same thing,
with
and
rape.
it was completely baseless. It was completely. Now,
Okay, I don't want to get into that.
Asked, yes,
but what I'm getting
like,
to is that the press
yeah.
doesn't
Not that
just
it doesn't happen, I'm sure it
exist.
does. There's bad people everywhere. We just have a better record than almost any other job.
Okay, I'm not getting into that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the press doesn't just exist at 70 miles an hour. So if you're letting people drive through, which is a privilege, okay, then certainly the owner of the road has a right to it. You see, the driver is not an owner.
Nuances, though. I mean, it still says.
Well,
like,
you say nuance,
if you
but
went over here and it's not an intersection, and you just crossed over the road, you would be violating the law.
Not true. Not true. And I'll tell you why. Because
the
I have a
definition says-
right to go out there and record a divot in the middle of the road. That is a matter of public interest. You
If you
see,
walked over and you crossed where there's no signal, there's no light, there's no intersection,
Yeah.
it would be against the law.
no, it only seems that way, and I'll tell you why.
It's under
Let-
absolute fact and definition.
I
of
let
the
you
law
talk.
that states it. I know. I'm
I
just
let
letting
you
know
talk,
that's
but you're not
100%
letting
wrong.
me talk. Okay. Wait. Let me say this. Oh, come
We're
on.
done. When you
Oh,
get
you're
rude
getting
like
an
that, dude,
attitude. I'm not rude.
I let you talk forever and ever and ever.
Oh my God. Thank you, Officer Walters. I really wasn't trying to be rude at
I know,
all.
but you get that way towards the end, man.
All right. Just we've met each other so many times. You at this point would have no concern about me filming, right?
No.
Okay.
I really don't.
Okay.
I mean,
And
I promise.
I apologize if you thought I was being rude.
I mean, I'm on a PR contact, so I can stop it at any
Yeah.
time.
No, you can.
But when things get a little too heated or something like that, I'd rather just go.
No, you're
and then,
fine. You're
I
fine.
gotta
You
go
got
do
things to
other
do.
stuff.
You got
Yeah.
things to do. I appreciate any
That's
time
it.
you're willing to talk
No,
to me.
anytime you come by or you're videotaping, the only time I'm going to say anything is if I just need you a little further back or there's something other safety. It's either mine or it even could be yours or someone else's.
Yeah, at this
And you
point,
may
I
not
would
always
trust
know
you.
why I'm saying it, but I'm not going to, you know me, I'm not going to be like, it's not ego.
At this
I'm not
point,
gonna be
I
like,
trust
you.
you.
Gotta go stand over
Yeah.
there because I said so. I could care less.
Yeah, no, at this
Ego.
point, I would trust you. If you told me to get back, I would
Yep.
think there was a good reason.
And I appreciate
And
it.
after the stop, I would want to know what it was. But,
I
you
would
know.
do my best
yeah.
to tell you. I can't tell
Yeah.
you everything.
Right,
There's
right.
You know, some stuff's public, some stuff isn't. But I would do my best.
Right.
Let me-
Thank you.
He's actually got me on a call.
All right. Press on.
Master by the name of Bates, smoking more than all 50 states combined. Yeah, right, I gotta stay on the grind. I got no money, so my weed's on my mind. I hit the club, but you know I can't dance. 7 and 7 in my cutoff chance. Tie that shirt in my long ass hair. What part of how I look makes you think I care?